So we're back again, John. Again, we're on the Learning Clinic, CKLU 96.7 FM or CKLU.ca, listening to the show streamed live, and then tomorrow on Tuesday we'll have the show on video. When we took our quick little break, I was looking at this whole concept of developing a vision and moving forward, and I like the way you put it. We have to plan together this vision, that it's not Mayor John Rodriguez's vision. It has to be a community vision kind of formulated by the representatives who have been chosen by the people to come together as a group of 13. And I guess when we take a look at this vision and how you see us planning for this vision, what is your role as a catalyst, as a leader, to make sure we go where we want to go?
That's a good question, an important question. I think it starts with the leader, the person who wants to be the leader of the group, the mayor, has got to have a vision first about where we want to go. Now, each of the councillors will have a vision. Each person who's running, you have a vision of where you see our community going. And then with the leadership skills is for the mayor to bring the council together, and that's what we did. I think 3 weeks after we were elected, we were down on Kukugami Lake for a weekend, and everybody lived inside the lodge, and we spent the weekend, Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday, and developed where we intersected and interfaced in terms of the vision that we came out of Kukugami Lake with that weekend.
Okay.
So, sure, the mayor has a vision, but it's not necessarily his vision that trumps everybody else's vision.
Yeah, I guess if it's contrary to what a lot of other people want,
give and take.
you're going to have a lot of conflict.
Yeah, but you have to give and take.
Right.
And it's not my way or the highway.
Right.
But, I mean, everybody around it gets the chance to express and to share, and in that sharing comes the intersections of where we can move and develop that vision for the council.
The common vision.
Yeah, and then of course you have, we had very capable animators who led the group, led us over that weekend to help us formulate and develop that overall vision for 4 years. And then, of course, after 2 years, we reviewed it, and we did that at the center in Azilda.
That coming together at the beginning really gives you a chance to demonstrate to the group that the group is open to all ideas, and nobody has to fear that any of their ideas are ridiculous. You've got to have that comfort level of being able to express yourself. And as a teacher, you would know that one of the biggest things that you have to do in a classroom is make sure that everybody understands that they're free to express their opinions freely, and that you're going to make sure that they can do that without fear of ridicule.
Yeah, and then you combine that, Bob, with the personality of the leader. If the personality of the leader is consensual, is open, there are times when you do have to take a stand, and you know that. You have an open door policy, and I mean an open door policy, which means that you're looking always for relationships and communication with the councillors.
Yeah.
So when I look out my door and I see down the hall a councillor going into their office area, you go down and invite them, come on in. If they know they can come into your office at any time to discuss any issue, it's extremely important.
Oh, yes.
And so you don't hide in your office and close the door.
Yeah.
And the same with citizens. Any citizen who wants to see the mayor has got to be able to see the mayor.
Yeah.
I don't care. I mean, that's the way it is.
Yeah, that's your priority.
And it seems to me that when you have that kind of leadership, it invites the kind of planning and development and vision development that I think is important for the 4 years that you're gonna be in office.
Absolutely.
Then the other thing is with these interactions, well, you know, as an educator, as an MP, I was always interested in people, and listening to them and responding to their needs is extremely important.
Mm-hmm.
As teachers, the children are the most important element in the system.
Yeah.
Then the parents, then the teachers, then the school board.
Mm-hmm. The school board, right.
Right down at the bottom.
Right at the bottom.
But children are first, that's why we're there.
Yeah.
And so to listen to children, and to work with them is extremely important. So in this particular instance, getting to know your counselors, and I'm talking informally, to know what motivates them,
Yeah.
what are their ambitions, what are their dreams, what are their hopes, what are their aspirations, what's their vision for the city.
Yeah.
That's extremely important.
Oh, absolutely, it's that.
And then supporting them, affirming what they do in their wards,
Yeah.
visiting everything that they do. I mean, it doesn't matter if they're opening or some sort of a fair in Beaver Lake or wherever, you go there
Yeah. Yeah.
with them.
Because in a way, you really do have a council of 13 mayors.
And you're in a team, you're part of a team.
Yeah.
And if you lose a vote, you don't harp upon it all the time.
No.
And you move forward.
Yeah.
We lost a vote on the two projects, the multi-use recreation and the performing arts center, but we move forward.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you have to. And I think that's one of the things I've been hearing constantly from the councilors that have come into this show. It's that they want to get to a point of being able to say, we're gonna have a very vigorous debate on an issue, vote on it, and it's done.
Yeah.
And then go on, move on. At least if everybody feels that they can put everything on the table and everybody's got all the information they need and they make a decision, good, the decision was made. And you can't feel bad about not getting your way.
And I think too, Bob, I think in looking back over my 4 years at the municipal level, as mayor, I would say that if I want to change things, I think the messaging, it's one thing to do a great project. For example, we did the investment in the School of Architecture downtown. We wanted it downtown, and the geriatric, but we lacked, or we didn't have the appropriate way of communicating those positive, cooperative things that we did together to the citizens at large. Because if we had done that people today, citizens today, would be able to make the contrast between what happened from 2006 to 2010 to what happened from 2010 to 2014. And they assumed that these same councils, and there were mostly 9 of the 12 are from the previous council. What happened to them suddenly? Did they become nattering nabobs of negativism overnight?
Yeah.
What happened? What was different?
Yeah.
And what was different was the leadership. So you don't take those 9 consensual people who were willing to work as a team and suddenly make them they were in opposition to the leader of the council.
Can't discard them now.
So I think one of the things we need to improve is how we get the message out to citizens
Right.
of what's happening.
I've got a good example of that with the branding publicity recently that was
Perfect
totally
example.
Totally misconstrued.
Perfect example. And now the city has a communications department and a head of communications, but they don't communicate the council's work. They communicate whatever the city is doing. We're turning off the power
Right,
from
that's
this,
right.
we're turning off the water from this.
Yeah.
It doesn't deliver the message
No.
to citizens in a coordinated way of what I would call the important decisions that council makes as a whole.
The security measures was another,
Well, that was another disaster.
yeah.
The whole handling of the Auditor General was a disaster. The handling of the Ombudsman was a disaster.
A lot of it is, like you said, communication.
Absolutely, and what happened was the council has no communications person who has the skills and the ability to
And you basically,
present the message
you're
of
basically a sitting duck.
Yes,
That happens.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
13
you're depending on
targets.
the media,
Yeah, there's 13
who's
targets.
got their own axe to grind.
Yeah.
And of course, it's always an axe to grind from a negative perspective.
Oh, it's like a piranha when they get hold of something.
Yes.
I don't have to tell you about that.
Yeah, so that whole idea, you're right about coming together, it's always a cooperative effort. And keep in mind, the mayor only has one vote on the council.
That's right.
People say that glibly, but, and it is true that the mayor only has one council, but the mayor has to depend on leadership skills, his or her leadership skills, to maximize the effect of that one vote. Okay, and that has to do with personality. I mean, I'm not, this whole idea of, well, if they wanna knock heads, I can knock heads with them. And you starting off with that, or my city is broken. Well, the city is not broken, and you're not going there to knock heads with anybody.
There's nothing wrong with vigorous debate.
Yeah, debate, informed debate, and the staff does a great job in providing the background material to councillors. And it's, the onus is on the
We just
councillor
have
to
to read it.
also
We just
read
have
it
to read
and prepare themselves.
Yeah.
Look at other sources, you know?
And I think that's critical, is this whole dedication to being prepared
Yeah.
for the discussion. And that's something that each councillor has to address personally.
When I think about, when I think back to 2006, and I think you were in the crucible of it, in Valley East.
Yes, I was running.
And people all wanted the amalgamation.
Yep.
That was the cry.
There was.
And I went to meetings where the de-amalgamators were, like, as you say, piranhas in the tank, and wanting me to come out in favor of putting a question on the ballot saying whether we want to stay in the City of Greater Sudbury or not. Well, we came through that. And Floyd with his report, which was the Community of Communities concept, and his 100-odd recommendations, we implemented all of those and moved to this. I think in 2010 I didn't hear anybody screaming at me saying we want to de-amalgamate. Now there are issues still there, concepts or people who do feel that they're ignored, and that everything goes into the core of the city.
We also felt that back when we had regional government, though.
Yes.
It was always that concept, but I can remember when we had regional government, and Mayor John Robert and Jim Griffin would go and sit at the regional table. Everybody around the table knew that those two people were going to be talking about the valley.
Mm-hmm.
They knew clearly they represent that community, and you had the Rayside represent. They were representing that. So it wasn't that it was a bad system. You had Tom Davies, who did a good job of bringing this group together, and they made decisions. And you went back and you continued to develop your valley, and we became a city for a year. And so I think what Floyd probably did was he made a lot of recommendations that allowed you to maintain the spirit of the community of communities,
Yeah.
without having to go through a de-amalgamation. Because I think Floyd probably recognized, and I think most people recognize now, you can't put the egg back in the shell.
Mm-hmm.
It's, you can say it all you want, but
Yeah.
you've broken the egg, it's scrambled, you cannot put it back.
And in fact, if you think of the Greater Sudbury as a sort of microcosm of the macrocosm being Canada as a country, I remember during the referendums, the Quebec referendums, I remember the line, you know, you can be a great Quebecer, but you can also be a great Canadian within
That's right.
Canada.
Yeah.
And so I always used to parrot that line back.
Yeah.
You can be a great Rayside Balfordian, you can be a great
Yeah.
Valley Easter, and at the same time, you can be a great Greater Sudburian.
Exactly.
So, but that's how I think our council is structured. I expect the councillors from Ward 5 and the councillor from Ward 6 and the councillor from Ward 9 speak up for their wards.
Yeah. That's
But
the only way to
also,
find out.
they're committed to the overall vision of an improved city, a dynamic city, a city that is moving forward.
Yeah. And I think that's a good analogy, because you've got those larger goals that encompass the entire city of Greater Sudbury, and then you've got the smaller goals that are major to their individual wards.
Yes.
But they are part of the bigger picture. And to me, it doesn't mean you have to give up one to get the other.
Mhm.
So they're both important.
Yes, they're not mutually exclusive. Absolutely.
And when you get into the federal level, and that's where you were, I mean, just face it, I mean, it was almost like a very large City of Greater Sudbury Council. You
Yeah.
have one leader, which was the federal government, and you've got 12 provinces and territories.
Yeah, and we had Western Canada, Alberta particularly, who said Eastern Canada is beating up on Alberta and wanting Alberta's oil resources, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I went in there and Petro-Canada was the issue.
Yeah.
And we did push the minority Liberal government to establish Petro-Canada.
So we're really not reinventing the wheel. I mean, the model has been there, and it's a model that has run the course of history in various different settings, and it's just a matter of the personalities.
And during this past election, 2010, I didn't hear, I mean, there was not the hysteria that we heard back in 2006 of
No.
demanding the amalgamation.
No, I think they've realized that the spirit of a community of communities is important, and it can be done.
Yeah,
Because I used to bring out the fact that if you really wanted the amalgamation, 7 out of the 13 people sitting around council live in the outlying areas. So if those 7 ever got together and said, we're gonna vote for the outlying area, they could have done it.
yeah, and you know, I found that the willingness to see the bigger picture, you know, was always present in the council that I led.
If Walden is damaged or compromised, I think the people in the valley have to feel it.
That's right.
It's gonna, if we hurt any segment of any section of our city, it's gonna bring down the whole. And that's the way I look at it. If we can improve any one little part of the city of Greater Sudbury, we've improved the city of Greater Sudbury.
That's right.
Small, but yeah. So in the last little while, are there any other specific major issues? Because I know you're gonna be bombarded with questions about, well, tell me exactly what you're gonna do with this. And
But
when I get those questions, you know what? I can't put myself into a pigeonhole. As a leader, I've gotta go in and say, I know basically what I'm thinking, but I have to find out more information. I have to find out what my colleagues feel. So I think for us to say, you have to come up with a definite platform so we know exactly where you stand on this and exactly where you stand on this. And I think it becomes difficult to go in there, because then you're always gonna be told, well, this is what you said before the election.
Oh,
So
sure.
now.
I mean, election time is stock-taking time, and it's the time to hold your incumbent councillor or mayor to account. What have you achieved?
Yeah.
Where were we? Where are we
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
So what
And
How
did
is it you
perform?
spent my tax dollars? What have you done with my tax dollars,
And how did
okay?
you perform?
And how
Did
you
you
perform.
return your call when I called you? Did
That-
you?
Those sorts of things, very important, you
Yeah.
know, and I wanted to see you, and I went up there 5 times, and you wouldn't see me.
Yeah.
You told the people out there in the office to tell you that you were busy or something.
Yeah, and I told 50 people that I know that that's how you treated me.
Yeah, so those are important things. I think what we've discussed today, Bob, is we have gone the gamut of what I would call my platform, as I see it. And we even got into the specificity in some instances, for example, on alternate sources of revenues.
Mhm.
I would have to say that I really view with suspicion anybody who comes along and says, well, when I get there as mayor, I wanna cut the number of people working for the city, and I wanna cut this expense, and I wanna cut this program. Well, everything that's been done, and by the way, it was during my time, and I'd run on it, was to establish the position of Auditor General of the city. And the purpose of that was to see what efficiencies we could achieve with an Auditor General, and or what savings we could achieve with an Auditor General. So, of course, I'm in favor of making the position of Auditor General permanent. The
Mhm.
individual occupying the position would be a contract position.
Right.
So, I would have to say, from my experience at City Hall, in general, it's efficiently run, considering the size of the city.
Mhm.
I mean, this is a huge municipality.
Oh, yes.
And I would have to say that, in general, it's efficiently run, and it responds to the needs of the citizens in a timely and effective fashion, as a general rule of
Yes.
principle. Doesn't mean it's perfect,
No.
and there are things that you need to always check and improve on, okay? Like overseeing contracts. If you have a contract with somebody to provide something, how's the oversight of the contract? Are we checking the services we're getting for the money we're paying, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So those things, yes, you always look for those efficiencies, and that's administrative.
Yeah.
So you can hold your general managers to account.
And as a mayor, you have a closer relationship with that operational side. So
Absolutely.
you're full-time, you're there, you're like, and so councilors have a kind of like an eye in the sky
Mhm.
person.
Yeah, and the relationship between the CAO and the mayor has to be a very close one. I mean, it has to be close in terms of communications. It's not once every 6 months you sit down with the CAO, or once a year, but weekly. And there should be an agenda of issues that you need to raise with the CAO, and he may want to raise with you.
Yeah.
So,
It's like a principal can't get to know his staff by only going in and doing a formal evaluation once every 2 years.
exactly.
You've gotta be there.
Exactly, and so that relationship, when you get to an elected council, elected mayor, and you've got your administrator, your head of administration, don't forget, he does the day-to-day operation of the city.
Yeah.
Okay, the mayor doesn't come along and say to a manager, that guy over here was, you had 6 guys filling a pothole on Demerara, and I want you to correct that. That's not the function of the mayor,
No.
okay?
No, you go crazy
Yeah.
if you try to do it.
So, if the mayor observes that, the mayor raises that with the appropriate leader, and that's the CAO, and says, listen, I noticed this, and I expect you will deal with that.
Or explain
And,
why.
and report back to me, and you put it on the next week's agenda, okay? Those sorts of things, or you get complaints, phone calls, people telling you what okay, the bylaw officer was rude to me and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I don't go call in the bylaw officer and berate him. My role is, the CAO is the administrator of the day-to-day operations of the city.
It's his responsibility.
And that's his responsibility, and that's what he's paid for.
Yeah.
And then he has to report back to me on what I raised with him.
Yeah.
So that's extremely important,
No, that's great. It's,
you know? A lot of times, too, is, the mayor is a problem solver. The mayor, you know, helps citizens to solve problems involving bureaucratic red tape,
right.
okay? And I see that a lot. I saw that a lot when I was mayor, and I responded appropriately. Bring in the head of engineering or the head of drainage. Why do you want him to put this berm here and a berm there? And why do you want him to put a fire hydrant right on his property? And he's got one down the road. That sort of thing. And so you try and resolve those things and you move things forward.
Yeah. So
You know?
it's a matter of education.
I remember getting when the library board needed some land from a landowner adjacent to the former library on the south end. And the owner of the property didn't want to sell to the library board. And so the library board came to the mayor and said, can you intervene on our behalf? Yes, call in the homeowner, the landowner, and we had a great discussion. And we're able to resolve that and get the land so that we can build the library. Now that's using the personal cachet of the mayor
And it comes
as a
from-
problem solver.
And it comes from personal experience. And
Yeah, and it comes from knowing how to deal with people, and it's not headbutting.
No, there's gotta be that sincerity, because people can tell. People can tell when you're not sincere and when you're just trying to pull the wool over their eyes. And so that whole being a conciliator is, it's an important part. Like you said.
Absolutely.
No, you're not coming in there with a stick and
And,
beat anybody.
and yeah, but if you don't wanna cooperate, I can bang heads too.
Yeah,
I mean, sorry, that's not how it works. This is not a Rob Ford thing.
no.
You know, and that's important. And what's important too is, since the mayor is the mayor for all the city, the mayor makes sure that he is seen at all functions where citizens invite the mayor and feel that the mayor's presence raises the function. And I think that's extremely important.
That's an important part, yeah.
That's the social aspect of.
Self-image of your community, like the community self-image is,
Yeah, and you know, these, I remember always when we did those State of the City address to the Chamber of Commerce, and we always laid out where we've been and what still has to be done. And we affirm people in these things and raise the level of enthusiasm for issues. That's important.
very. So moving forward, I guess we're just, like we're at the end of, in the middle of June. We're hitting summer. And I guess then we're probably gonna end up looking at August, September, October being probably the busiest time of the municipal election, so.
Yes, I would say towards the end of August, end of August and then through September. It's interesting that, you know, the period for a municipal election runs from January the 1st till October 26th, which is 10 months. The province and the feds don't treat themselves like that. You know?
It's almost as if the province and the feds don't wanna give candidates too much time to say the wrong thing.
Well, it's also you pandering to that hackneyed constitutional truism that the municipalities are the children of the province.
Yeah.
And so since we're the children of the province, it reflects that we're not